On that Megadeth tour, I mean, you look at, even when you watch old videos, and of course, all the stories are out there with Mustaine anyways, but he looks, especially to me on that tour, more drugged out than any other tour. What was he like to deal with on a daily basis?
I was a straight edge when I met those guys, so you can imagine it wasn't a great deal of fun for me. And that probably speaks to why my tenure in the band was so short. I
Because
didn't want to be around the junk.
he says at some point that you were the reason why they left Australia early because you needed heroin.
Yeah, that's hot calling the kettle black if I ever heard. Blame shifting, is that what we call that? Cowardly lying, buck passing, what do we call that? I think we all know who ran out of heroin. I think we all know Jeff Young didn't have the power to cancel that tour. What kind of a piece of shit does that? Tries to shift the blame and put it on the person who wasn't abusing.
And then another clip said that you tried to bang his fiance.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Untrue.
That's untrue as well.
I've answered all this on Music Without Boundaries, and it's far from true. But if you want to alienate your fans from following me to my next project and maybe keep me from getting a new gig, how would you do it if you were a diabolical piece of shit? And I've told this on my show. It's not like a secret, man. He cried that he gave the girl herpes. That was one of his drunken, pissing and moaning things he told me on the tour bus one night. So would you go near someone if you knew she had STDs? My thing is, like, I wouldn't go near anyone that he'd been 10 foot, with a 10-foot pole with anyone he'd been near. Surely not her.
I've interviewed Randy Burns, who did the Peace Sells record, recorded it. And then, of course, we did another interview where he talked about Chris Poland's recording Return to Metalopolis. He thought Dave was kind of annoyed with the fact that he was so into Chris. When he met him, he just couldn't even believe how gifted he was. But what was your initial impression of Chris's playing?
My initial impression is the same as it is today. He's one of the greatest unsung players on the planet. The only reason I did that gig was to have the honor and pleasure of figuring out his solos. And I went down to Capitol Records and I soloed all his tracks and I figured them out note for note. And that's one of the things Dave likes to say in interviews because he knows I did that. And people can go back on YouTube, you can watch, you can hear it, how close I did the solos. He likes to say, I didn't want to do Chris's solos. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Chris has a damaged finger, right? His first finger was damaged in a shop accident in high school. So I had more use of my fingers, so I'm going to play my own way. I'm not him, but I did cop as much as I thought was critical to cop of him. And he's been on my radio show. He's a great pal. I can't speak highly enough of him. And that's the problem with Megadeth, is that the band traditionally needs a guitar player that's that good, and then the other guitarist can't handle that. Anyone can get that. It's not hard to understand the dynamic and the psychology behind what goes on in that band. He said negative things about Chris, Marty, me, Nick. It's a tradition, and all of the ex-Megadeth members, we're all friends, and we have a commiseration society. And
I bet. Cool. It'd be like a therapy group is what it seems like everybody would need after being in the band.
Day Shawn Drover quit Megadeth, I got a friend request from him. Everyone's cool but one person. And all that drama, you saw I rarely answered it, but I did when it, I didn't even answer that stuff. But when he said he sang my solos in Guitar World, then it was on. And all you got to do is go online and just search Jeff Young slams. You don't even got to type the last bit of that phrase, and you'll see all the stuff that went down there. It's all still there archived. I wrote a nice blog on MySpace in response to that Guitar World. It was called Dave Mustaine, Your Pants Are on Fire.